As the Hegemony Ambassador's ship accelerated away from Earth, Captain Elena Reyes stood on the Defiance Bridge, the gravity of her actions settling on her shoulders. The crew remained silent, eyes fixed on their stations, processing what had just happened. "Captain," Lieutenant Sarah Chen finally broke the silence, "did we just declare war on an interstellar empire?" Reyes ran a hand through her short black hair, the silver strands at her temples catching the light. "They declared war the moment they demanded our submission, Lieutenant. I just refused to roll over." Commander Jackson, her XO, approached with a datapad. "Engineering reports the maneuver we executed strained the inertial dampeners beyond recommended tolerances." Dr. Zhang is colorfully expressing his concerns. A ghost of a smile touched Reyes' lips. "Tell Wei I'll buy him a drink when we get home." "Assuming Earth still exists," muttered Tactical Officer Rodriguez. "That's enough, Lieutenant," Reyes snapped, though the same thought had crossed her mind. She moved to the central holographic display, expanding the view of their solar system. The Hegemony vessel is maintaining its course out of the system. No signs of weapons charging. "They weren't expecting resistance," Commander Jackson observed. 7 species under their control, and they assumed we'd be the 8th. Reyes nodded. "Humanity has a bad habit of defying expectations." Communications Officer Patul looked up from her station, dark eyes troubled. "Captain, we're receiving an urgent recall from Earth Command. Priority Alpha." "Of course we are." Reyes straightened her uniform. "Plot a course home, Lieutenant Chen. Let's go face the music." The Defiance revolutionary drive hummed to life, the stars blurring as they accelerated toward Earth. 3 days later, in the orbital headquarters of Earth Command, the atmosphere was anything but celebratory. Admiral Kellerman's face had progressed through several shades of red during Reyes' debriefing. "You told them, Boishade," he thundered, slamming his palm on the conference table hard enough to make the water glasses jump. "I informed the Hegemony that Earth would not submit to their demands." Reyes replied evenly. General Santos, head of Earth's ground forces, massaged her temples. "Captain, do you understand what you've done? Their scan data would have shown them one ship. Your ship. Now they believe that single vessel represents Earth's standard technological capability." "Good," Reyes said firmly. "Let them think that." Admiral Kellerman's laugh was hollow. "Captain, there is no fleet. The Defiant is a prototype. We have theoretical designs for more ships, but nothing that could stand against an interstellar empire." The room fell silent as the holographic display activated, showing the Hegemony Ambassador's ship approaching a massive fleet waiting just beyond Neptune's orbit. The gathered officials watched in stunned silence as the diplomatic vessel docked with a command ship 10 times the Defiant's size. "They were already here," Reyes whispered. "This wasn't a diplomatic mission. It was reconnaissance." Defense Minister Cheng, who had remained silent until now, leaned forward. "How long do we have?" The intelligence officer cleared his throat. "Based on their communications we've intercepted, the Hegemony appears to be regrouping. They're discussing something called appropriate response protocols. Our linguists are still working on full translations, but they seem confused by our posture." "They expected immediate capitulation," Reyes said. "Now they're recalculating." Admiral Kellerman's anger had faded to grim resignation. "So we've bought some time. Weeks, maybe months if we're lucky. But what exactly do you propose we do with that time, Captain? We can't build a fleet overnight." Reyes met his gaze steadily. "No, sir. But we have one ship they're afraid of. And sometimes, Admiral, a single unpredictable element is more disruptive than an entire predictable fleet." As if on cue, the door to the conference room slid open, and a disheveled man in a rumpled lab coat strode in, digital schematics floating around him like electronic fireflies. "Dr. Wei Zhang," Admiral Kellerman acknowledged with a nod. "I assume you're here about the damage to your precious drive system." "The drive is fine," Dr. Zhang dismissed with a wave. "I'm here because I've been analyzing the Hegemony's approach vector and scanning technology. His eyes found Ray's. "Captain, they have no idea what the Defiant is truly capable of. And I have some ideas about how we can use that to our advantage." For the first time since returning to Earth, Alina Rice felt a spark of hope. Dr. Weizhang's holographic schematics expanded to fill the center of the conference room, displaying the Defiant's internal systems in dazzling detail. Admiral Kellerman and the other officials leaned forward, expressions shifting from skepticism to cautious interest. "The Defiant wasn't built as a warship," Zhang explained, his fingers manipulating the display to highlight specific components. "It was designed as a deep space exploration vessel, with adaptive systems that could respond to unknown environments." "We're well aware of the mission parameters, Doctor," Admiral Kellerman said dryly. Zhang shot him an impatient look. "What you're not aware of are the experimental subsystems I incorporated that weren't in the official blueprints." A murmur rippled through the room. Defense Minister Cheng frowned. "Unauthorized modifications to a military vessel is grounds for." "Court-martial me later," Zhang interrupted, zooming in on an unusual configuration near the ship's power core. "This is a quantum field manipulator. We designed it to create protective bubbles around survey teams on hostile planets, but with recalibration, it could generate false sensor readings across a radius of several thousand kilometers." Captain Rice straightened in her chair. "You're suggesting we could make the Defiant appear as multiple ships?" "Not just appear. We could create convincing energy signatures, communication patterns, even weapons discharge effects." Zhang's eyes gleamed with excitement. The hegemony wouldn't see one ship. They'd detect a squadron. General Santos looked unconvinced. "Even if this works, we'd be sending Captain Rice and her crew on a suicide mission. One ship, no matter how it appears on sensors, can't stand against their armada." "We don't need to stand against them," Rice countered. "We need to make them hesitate, to question their intelligence about Earth. If they believe we have technological capabilities they didn't anticipate, they'll be forced to reassess. It's psychological warfare," Commander Jackson added from his position by the wall. "We make them see ghosts." President Alvarez, who had been silently observing until now, rose from her seat. Though small in stature, her presence commanded attention. "How quickly can these modifications be implemented, Dr. Zhang?" 3 weeks, minimum," Zhang replied. "We'll need to repurpose several systems and fabricate new components." "You have 10 days, the president stated flatly. "Intelligence suggests that's how long before the hegemony completes their strategic assessment." Zhang opened his mouth to object, then closed it. "We'll need every engineer from the Defiant project." "You'll have them," President Alvarez assured him. She turned to Captain Reyes. "This mission requires a specific kind of crew, Captain. People who can think beyond conventional military doctrine." Reyes nodded slowly. "I know exactly who we need." 6 days later, Captain Reyes stood in Lunar Hangar Facility Delta, watching as technicians swarmed over the Defiant like ants on a sugar cube. The ship's elegant hull was now mirrored by temporary access panels and diagnostic equipment. "They're butchering my ship," she murmured. "They're evolving it," Dr. Zhang corrected, appearing beside her with dark circles under his eyes. He hadn't slept more than 3 hours a night since the project began. "The holographic projectors are installed. We've begun integrating them with the sensor array." "Will it be enough?" Reyes asked softly, a question meant more for herself than Zhang. "It has to be," he replied anyway. "Come, I want to show you something." He led her to a secure lab adjacent to the hangar. Inside, a holographic display showed a simulation of the Defiant executing maneuvers, but on the tactical overlay, multiple ship signatures appeared where only one vessel actually existed. "This is what the hegemony will see," Zhang explained. "We've analyzed their scanning technology from the diplomatic vessel's emissions. Their sensors operate on principles similar to our quantum echo detection systems." "Which means they have the same vulnerabilities," Reyes realized. "Exactly. Their technology is advanced, but it follows predictable physical laws." Zhang manipulated the controls, showing how the false signatures would respond to hegemony scanning sweeps. We're also incorporating randomized communication patterns between the Phantom ships. To their intelligence analysts, it will appear as encrypted fleet communications. Rice studied the simulation with growing appreciation. We're not just creating decoys, we're creating an entirely fictitious battle group. Zhang nodded. Operation Phantom Fleet. Appropriate, don't you think? A young lieutenant burst into the lab, saluting hastily. Captain, Dr. Zhang. Admiral Kellerman requests your presence immediately. Our deep space relays have detected hegemony ships changing formation. They're moving. Rise and Zhang exchanged alarmed glances. We're not ready, Zhang said. Then we'll have to get ready, Rise replied, already moving toward the door. How soon can the Defiant launch? Zhang swallowed hard. 36 hours, at the absolute minimum. And that's with systems at 60% optimal functionality. Make it 24, Rise ordered. And I'll take the Defiant at 50%. 22 hours later, Captain Rice stood in the Defiant's newly reconfigured command center. What had once been an orderly bridge now resembled a chaotic hybrid of traditional controls and hastily installed experimental systems. Exposed circuitry lined the walls, and holographic interfaces flickered occasionally as they stabilized. This is Lieutenant Commander Raj Patel, Rice said, gesturing to a lean man with sharp features and calculating eyes. Former tactical officer for the Mars Defense Fleet until he was discharged for insubordination. Patel finished with a crooked smile. I suggested that standard engagement protocols were suicide against certain attack vectors. My superior officers disagreed with my assessment and my methods for demonstrating it. He hacked the fleet's combat simulation program to prove his point. Rise explained to Zhang. Created a scenario where unconventional tactics defeated a superior force. Zhang nodded appreciatively. We need precisely that kind of thinking. Rise continued the introductions. Dr. Sophia Chen, quantum physicist. Her theories on manipulating space-time made our new holographic systems possible, though the scientific community branded her work fanciful speculation. The petite woman with intense eyes nodded curtly. Theory becomes practice when necessity demands it, Dr. Zhang. And Marcus Williams, Rise concluded, indicating a young man who looked too casual for the military setting, his fingers constantly moving as if typing on invisible keyboards, best described as an ethical criminal. Williams interjected cheerfully. I'll be handling your electronic warfare needs, overriding hegemony systems, creating communication ghosts, the fun stuff. Zhang looked skeptical. He's a civilian hacker. On a military mission. He breached Earth Defense Command's quantum encrypted networks in under 3 hours, Rice said, then showed them how to fix the vulnerabilities. We need his skills. Williams grinned. They offered me this gig instead of prison. Seemed like an upgrade, though the odds of survival appear roughly equivalent. Before Zhang could respond, the ship-wide communication system activated. All personnel, secure for launch sequence. T-15 minutes. That's our cue, Rice said. Doctor, are the systems ready? Zhang hesitated. The Phantom projection system is operational but untested in field conditions. The gravity manipulators are running at 42% capacity. If we push them beyond 60%, we risk burning out the entire power grid. We'll manage, Rise replied, taking her command chair as her unorthodox crew moved to their stations. This ship was built by the finest minds on Earth, and now it's crewed by them too. The Defiant slipped from the lunar hangar, its modified drive system leaving a distinctive energy signature that immediately captured the attention of observatories throughout the solar system. In the Situation Room beneath Geneva, President Alvarez and the military high command watched the ship's departure on massive screens. Hegemony vessels have altered course, announced the tactical officer. They're moving to intercept the Defiant near Jupiter's orbit. Admiral Kellerman gripped the edge of the tactical display. They're deploying faster than we anticipated. The Defiant is headed straight into their path. That's the plan, President Alvarez reminded him. Let's hope Zhang's modifications work as promised. On the Defiance bridge, Lieutenant Commander Patel reported the approaching hegemony vessels. 5 ships, Captain. Heavy cruiser configuration based on the profiles extracted from their diplomatic vessel. Perfect. Reyes nodded. Dr. Chen, initiate Phantom Fleet Protocol Alpha. Mr. Williams, begin broadcasting the simulated fleet communications. Chen's fingers danced across her specialized interface. Projecting Phantom vessels now. 7 signatures deployed. On the main view screen, the tactical display showed the Defiant suddenly multiplying, holographic projections creating the impression of an 8-ship squadron where only one actually existed. The projections are holding, Chen reported, surprise evident in her voice. Hegemony vessels are adjusting course, spreading their formation to engage multiple targets. They're taking the bait, Patel observed, a predatory smile playing on his lips. Williams looked up from his station. I'm detecting active scanning attempts from the hegemony ships. They're trying to get detailed readings of our fleet. Initiate countermeasures, Reyes ordered calmly. Dr. Zhang, activate the gravity distortion fields. Zhang nodded, enabling systems that would bend the hegemony's sensor beams, creating false returns that reinforced the Phantom ship's existence. This is it, Reyes announced, her voice carrying throughout the bridge. Humanity's first stand against the hegemony begins now. We're not just fighting for Earth. We're fighting to show the galaxy that sometimes appearances can be more powerful than reality. As the distance to the hegemony vessels rapidly decreased, Reyes leaned forward in her command chair. Battle stations, everyone. Let's introduce them to the fleet they expected. Supreme Admiral Taxian stood motionless on the command deck of the hegemony flagship Inevitable Dominance. His 4 eyes narrowed as he studied the tactical display. His gray-scaled skin flushed slightly purple, the only outward sign of his growing irritation. Explain to me, he said, his voice unnaturally calm, how a species that was transmitting primitive radio signals less than 2 centuries ago has deployed a battle group with quantum-shifted drive signatures. The hegemony's chief intelligence officer, Sub-Commander Vexil, shifted uncomfortably. Our initial assessment may have been incomplete, Supreme Admiral. Incomplete, Taxian repeated, the word dripping with disdain. And now we face 8 vessels with technology that rivals our newest destroyer class. The tactical officer interrupted. Supreme Admiral, the human vessels are assuming an attack formation. They're coordinating with remarkable precision. On the Defiant, Captain Reyes watched her Phantom fleet execute the elaborate dance that Lieutenant Commander Patel had programmed. The holographic projections mimicked the movements of a well-trained squadron, while Williams' electronic warfare suite generated the communications chatter to complete the illusion. Hegemony vessels are adjusting their formation, Patel reported. They're moving into a defensive posture, classic hegemony doctrine, when facing an unknown threat. Reyes nodded. Good. They're being cautious. Dr. Chen, status of the Phantom projections. Holding stable, Chen replied, though her expression was tense. But the power drain is significant. We can maintain this configuration for approximately 22 minutes before requiring a system cooldown. Then we make those minutes count, Reyes decided. Mr. Williams, are you into their systems yet? The hacker's fingers flew across his specialized interface. Almost there, Captain. Their encryption is complex, but follows recognizable patterns. I've identified a vulnerability in their tactical data exchange protocol. Excellent. Reyes turned to Patel. Commander, prepare attack pattern Hydra. Let's see how they respond to coordinated fire from multiple vectors. Aboard the Inevitable Dominance, alarm sounded as the tactical officer reported, Supreme Admiral, the human vessels are breaking formation. They're executing a multi-pronged attack pattern. Taxian's mandibles clicked in surprise. Disperse the fleet. Focus fire on the lead vessel, the one that matches the Defiant's original signature. Unable to isolate target, "Sir," the tactical officer responded, frustration evident. "Their signatures are shifting. I can't distinguish which is the original vessel." "Impossible," Taxian hissed. On the Defiant, Williams gave a triumphant whoop. "I'm in. I've got partial access to their tactical network, routing their internal communications to our translators now." The bridge speakers crackled to life with translated hegemony communications. "Cannot lock targeting systems. Signatures keep shifting. Request permission to withdraw and recess." Reyes allowed herself a small smile. "Dr. Zhang, activate the gravity manipulators. Target their flagship's sensor array." Zhang initiated the sequence, channeling power to the experimental system. Manipulators active. Bending spacetime in 3, 2, 1. The effect was immediate and dramatic. The hegemony's flagship sensors suddenly detected phantom threats from impossible angles, as if the human vessels were somehow attacking from within the hegemony formation itself. Patel's eyes widened as he monitored the hegemony's response. "They're firing defensively, Captain. Their ships are actually targeting empty space." "And each other," Williams added with glee. "Two of their vessels just exchanged fire. Minor damage, but they're definitely confused." Dr. Chen's voice cut through the moment of triumph. "Captain, the phantom projectors are overheating. Power levels are becoming unstable. Mr. Williams, can you maintain the electronic deception if we lose the visual projections?" Reyes asked sharply. "For a short time, yes," he confirmed. "I seeded their tactical network with false readings that should persist even if our projectors fail." "Good." Reyes made her decision. "Dr. Zhang, divert power from the phantom projectors to propulsion and shields. Lieutenant Chen, plot a course directly between their two outermost vessels. Mr. Patel, prepare to fire our actual weapons systems at the nearest cruiser's propulsion array." "Captain," Zhang objected, "that will expose us to direct fire from multiple vessels." "Precisely," Reyes replied. "Sometimes the best place to hide is in plain sight. They'll expect a retreat, not a charge. Execute." The Defiant surged forward, its phantom fleet dissipating as power was redistributed. The hegemony vessels, still recovering from the confusion of ghost targets, reacted too slowly as the human ship sliced through their formation, unleashing precision strikes against the nearest cruiser's engines. "Direct hit," Patel announced. "Target vessel is venting plasma. Their propulsion system is offline." As the Defiant cleared the hegemony formation, Reyes ordered, "Prepare for microjump. Let's leave them wondering where the rest of our fleet disappeared to." On the inevitable dominance, Supreme Admiral Taxian watched in disbelief as the human vessel vanished into faster-than-light travel, leaving one hegemony cruiser crippled and the rest of his squadron in disarray. "Supreme Admiral," Sub-Commander Vexil ventured cautiously, "shall we pursue?" Taxian's scales had darkened to a deep purple. "No," he said finally. "We will regroup and analyze what just happened. These humans—" He paused, his four eyes narrowing. "They are not what we thought they were. And that makes them dangerous." "Status report," Captain Reyes demanded as the Defiant emerged from its microjump, the stars reorienting on the view screen as they arrived in a dense asteroid field near the Kuiper Belt. "All systems operational, but the phantom projectors need at least 4 hours to cool down," Dr. Chen reported, wiping sweat from her brow. "The power surge nearly fried the quantum matrix." Zhang nodded grimly. "We pushed the systems well beyond their theoretical limits. It's remarkable they performed as well as they did." "What's remarkable?" Williams interjected, his eyes still fixed on his console, "is what I found while rooting around in their tactical network." He swiped his hand, sending data to the main display. "The hegemony fleet isn't just hunting us. They're coordinating with scout ships across 3 star systems." Patel studied the intelligence with growing concern. "These aren't just patrol routes. They're deploying forces to protect key infrastructure, supply depots, communication relays, manufacturing centers. They're expecting a prolonged conflict, Rise realized. They think we're the advanced scouts for a larger human offensive. She turned to Zhang. How quickly can we get the phantom projectors back online? As I said, 4 hours minimum. I need them in 2, Rise interrupted. The hegemony is dispersing their forces to counter a threat that doesn't exist. This is our opportunity to magnify that misconception. Zhang frowned. What exactly are you proposing, Captain? Rise gestured to the star map. We hit multiple targets in rapid succession, appearing to be different ships each time. The hegemony believes we're a fleet. Let's behave like one. A guerrilla campaign, Paddle said, nodding appreciatively. Strike where they're weakest, disappear before they can respond. But with the projectors operating at reduced capacity, Chen warned, we'd only be able to maintain the illusion for minutes at a time. Minutes are all we need, Rise responded. We strike fast, disable rather than destroy, and vanish. Each successful operation adds to the myth of Earth's phantom fleet. Williams grinned. I can help with that. While I was in their systems, I planted a few dormant subroutines that can activate on command. They'll generate false sensor readings even after we've left the area. Perfect, Rise said. Dr. Zhang, begin repairs on the projection system. Commander Patel, identify optimal targets within our operational range. Dr. Chen, I need you to find ways to reduce the power consumption of the projectors. Mr. Williams, continue analyzing the hegemony data. I want to know their strengths, their weaknesses, and especially their fears. As the crew dispersed to their tasks, Rise retreated to her ready room and activated a secure communication channel to Earth Command. Admiral Kellerman's face appeared on the screen, his expression a mixture of disbelief and cautious hope. Your tactics worked, he stated. The hegemony force has withdrawn to regroup, and our deep space relays are detecting significant fleet movements throughout their territory. They're overreacting, Rise confirmed. The deception was effective, but maintaining it will be challenging. We need to capitalize on their confusion immediately. Agreed. Kellerman hesitated. Captain, I owe you an apology. Your unorthodox approach has bought us precious time. Save it for when we get home, Admiral, Rise replied with a tired smile. We've won the first skirmish, but the real battle is just beginning. 3 days later, a hegemony supply convoy near the Proxima Centauri system detected a small squadron of Earth vessels appearing seemingly from nowhere. Within minutes, the convoy's escort ships were disabled by precision strikes, their communication arrays destroyed before they could send distress signals. The cargo vessels were left untouched, their crews reporting that the Earth ships vanished as quickly as they had appeared. 8 hours after that, a hegemony listening post at the edge of the Ta CD system registered multiple Earth vessels approaching. By the time reinforcements arrived, the post had been surgically disabled, its data cores wiped clean. On the bridge of the inevitable dominance, now stationed at the hegemony's forward command base, Supreme Admiral Sotaxian reviewed the growing list of hit-and-run attacks with mounting frustration. The humans are everywhere and nowhere, he snarled, his scales darkening. Their attack patterns make no strategic sense. There's no discernible objective beyond creating chaos. Perhaps that is their objective, Supreme Admiral Vexil suggested cautiously. Our forces are scattered across 3 systems responding to phantom threats. Our supply lines are disrupted. Our communication network compromised. And their fleet, so Taxian mused, studying the tactical display, must be more numerous than we initially calculated. The attack signatures suggest at least 12 distinct vessels. He straightened, making a decision. Recall the primary battle group. I will personally lead the hunt for these human ships. Vexil's scales paled. But Supreme Admiral, the High Council has ordered us to maintain defensive positions around the home systems. The best defense is to eliminate this threat at its source, so Taxian declared. These humans don't understand the enemy they've provoked, but they will learn. Captain Rice studied the holographic representation of the Loraki representative with cautious interest. The alien's translucent blue skin pulsed with bioluminescent patterns that the translator suggested conveyed both anxiety and hope. "You claim your people wish to meet with us," Rice said carefully. "Why should we trust this isn't a hegemony trap?" The Loraki's light patterns intensified. "Because we have been watching your ship, Captain. One vessel, not the fleet the hegemony believes they face." A tense silence fell over the Defiance Bridge. Williams muttered, "Well, there goes our cover story." The Loraki continued, "If we wished to expose you, we would have already transmitted this knowledge to Admiral Sotaxian. Instead, we offer an opportunity for mutual benefit." Reyes exchanged glances with her officers before responding. "I'm listening. My name is Ambassador Trellin. The Loraki were the third species incorporated into the hegemony 2 centuries ago. We were told it was for protection, but it became something else. The aliens' patterns shifted to darker hues. We have maintained hidden technological development prohibited by hegemony law. Technology that could enhance your vessel's capabilities beyond what your deceptions currently achieve." Patel leaned close to Reyes. "Captain, this could be valuable intelligence at minimum, game-changing assistance at best. Or a trap," Chen countered quietly. Reyes considered for a moment. "Ambassador Trellin, what do you want in exchange for this assistance?" "The hegemony's grip is weakening," Trellin responded. "Your one-ship fleet has created fractures we haven't seen in generations. We want to widen those fractures." Reyes nodded slowly. "Transmit coordinates for a meeting. We'll be there, but at the first sign of betrayal, we'll ensure the hegemony learns exactly who helped us." "Understood, Captain." The Loraki's patterns brightened. "We await your arrival. And Captain Rice, prepare to be surprised." As the transmission ended, Rice turned to her crew. "Opinions? It's worth the risk," Patel said immediately. "Our current approach is effective but unsustainable. The Phantom projectors require increasingly lengthy cooling periods between deployments." Zhang nodded in agreement. "And the hegemony will eventually develop countermeasures to our deceptions. We need an evolution in our tactics." "How do we know they're not working with Sotaxian?" Chen asked. This Ambassador Trellin knew exactly what we were doing. "Because intelligent observation would reveal the same," Williams interjected. "We've been in over 30 engagements across 3 star systems in 2 weeks. No legitimate fleet could maintain that operational tempo with the resources Earth possesses. Someone was bound to figure it out eventually." Reyes considered their arguments. "Set course for the coordinates, but prepare emergency jump calculations to multiple fallback positions, and keep our weapons systems on standby." The meeting location was a small, apparently abandoned mining outpost orbiting a gas giant in a rarely visited star system. As the Defiant approached cautiously, sensors detected minimal power signatures and no apparent weapon systems. "I'm detecting 3 vessels docked at the outpost," Chen reported. "Design configurations unlike hegemony standard models." "Life signs?" Rides asked. "Approximately 47 individuals, primarily Loraki physiology, with at least 3 other species present. A coalition," Patel observed. "Interesting." The Defiant docked at the designated port, and Rice led a small away team consisting of Zhang, Williams, and 2 security officers. Ambassador Trellin met them at the airlock, the Loraki's actual physical form more imposing than the holographic representation had suggested. Standing nearly 7 feet tall, with crystalline appendages and pulsing bioluminescence, Trellin exuded both elegance and power. "Captain Reyes," the translator conveyed as Trellin's light patterns shifted. "Welcome to what we call Haven. Please, follow me." The ambassador led them through corridors that blended various architectural styles, evidence of multiple species influence. They entered a large chamber where representatives of 4 distinct alien species waited around a circular table. "May I present the Resistance Council?" Trellin announced. Leaders from species who have suffered under hegemony rule and who have been watching your remarkable campaign with great interest. A bulky, reptilian being stepped forward. I am General Kivoth of the Sardic. For 3 generations, we have been restricted from developing beyond Class II weapons technology. We have been less compliant than the hegemony believes. Another alien, with an insectoid appearance, chittered before the translator conveyed. Engineer Prime Zilith of the Narration Collective. The hegemony uses our people as technical staff, but prohibits us from advancing our own research. We have maintained secret development programs. Each representative shared similar stories of restriction and secret defiance. As they spoke, Rise began to understand the full picture. The hegemony's control was built on technological superiority and the isolation of subject species from one another. And now, Trellin concluded, you have shown the galaxy that the hegemony can be challenged. With one ship, you have accomplished what none of us dared attempt. Ray's managed a wry smile. It seems our deception was more effective than we realized. More than deception, Kivoth rumbled. You have demonstrated courage and innovation. But most importantly, you have shown that Sotaxian is fallible. Trellin gestured to a holographic display activating in the center of the table. Captain, we are prepared to share technologies that will enhance your ship's capabilities beyond what your phantom projectors can achieve. In exchange, we ask that you continue to disrupt hegemony operations, but with our assistance. As technical specifications appeared in the hologram, Dr. Zhang's eyes widened. This quantum entanglement communication system, it's generations beyond what we theorized. Williams was equally impressed by another display. And these electronic countermeasures would allow us to penetrate hegemony security protocols we currently can't touch. Ray studied the aliens carefully. And what happens if we succeed? What comes after the hegemony? The representatives exchanged glances before Trellin responded. That, Captain Reyes, is precisely what we hoped to discuss with you. Perhaps it is time for a new order in the galaxy, one built on cooperation rather than subjugation. The Defiant emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Proxima Centauri system, its hull now bearing subtle modifications that betrayed the alien technology integrated into its systems. On the bridge, Captain Reyes surveyed the tactical display with grim determination. Status report, she ordered, her voice steady despite the enormity of what they were about to attempt. Navarin sensor enhancements online, Chen reported. We're detecting Sotaxian's fleet, 37 vessels in formation around the third planet. Williams whistled. That's over half the hegemony's capital ships in one location. Our friend the Admiral has really gone all in. And violated direct orders from the Hegemony Council to do so, added Lieutenant Nakamura, the ship's newly designated diplomatic officer. The former xenolinguist had proven invaluable in coordinating with their alien allies. According to Trellin's intelligence, 3 council members have formally censured Sotaxian for committing too many resources to what they see as a peripheral threat. Reyes nodded. Then we need to push him past the breaking point. Commander Patel, is the attack plan ready? Yes, Captain. Patel brought up a detailed battle projection. Using the Loraki quantum fold technology, we can create not just holographic projections, but actual displacement fields that will register as solid objects on hegemony sensors. Combined with the Sardic shield harmonics, we can make these projections appear to withstand enemy fire. And our allies? Rise asked. Nakamura checked her communications panel. In position, Captain. 16 vessels from 5 species, all equipped with Navarin stealth systems. The hegemony doesn't detect them yet. Reyes took a deep breath. This was the moment everything had built toward. Not just a skirmish or hit-and-run attack, but a decisive confrontation that would determine the future of Earth and potentially dozens of other worlds. Begin Phase 1, she ordered. Mr. Williams, transmit the false fleet signatures according to the pattern we discussed. Williams' fingers flew across his console. Transmitting now. Sotaxian's sensors should detect 20 Earth vessels approaching from multiple vectors. On the bridge of the inevitable dominance, alarms blared as the tactical officer reported, "Supreme Admiral, multiple human signatures detected. They appear to be converging on our position." Sotaxian's scales flushed deep purple with anticipation. Finally, they commit their main force. Order the fleet to move to intercept Formation Delta. Target their command vessels first. "Sir," a communications officer interrupted, "we're receiving a priority transmission from the High Council. They're demanding you withdraw to defensive positions around the home systems immediately." "Ignore it," Sotaxian snapped. "This is the opportunity we've been waiting for." The human fleet has overextended itself. As the hegemony vessels moved to engage the Phantom Earth fleet, the actual Defiant remained at the system's edge, using the Narration stealth technology to mask its presence. "They're taking the bait," Paddle reported. "Hegemony fleet is splitting into 3 battle groups to counter our Phantom signatures." "Perfect." Rise nodded. "Dr. Zhang, activate the quantum fold projectors at maximum intensity. Let's make sure those phantoms look convincing." Zhang engaged the Loraki systems, and the tactical display showed the Phantom fleet responding realistically to the hegemony's approach, executing evasive maneuvers and appearing to return fire. "Hegemony vessels are firing on the projections," Chen reported. "The Sardic shield harmonics are working. They're registering shield impacts rather than penetration." "Begin Phase 2, Rise ordered. Signal our allies." Across the system, 16 vessels from the Resistance Coalition disengaged their stealth systems and appeared behind the now scattered hegemony forces. "What is this?" Sotaxian demanded as new signatures appeared on his tactical display. "These aren't human vessels." "Sir," his tactical officer responded, voice tight with concern, "we're detecting Loraki, Sardic, and Narration signatures. They're attacking our rear flanks." Sotaxian's 4 eyes blinked in rapid succession. "Impossible. Those species don't possess warships." As the Coalition forces engaged the surprised hegemony vessels, the Defiant finally revealed itself, moving at full speed directly toward Sotaxian's flagship. "They've spotted us," Williams announced. "Sotaxian's ship is breaking formation, moving to intercept." "He can't help himself," Rice said with grim satisfaction. "His obsession with capturing us has clouded his judgment. Bring all weapons systems online. Mr. Patel, prepare to execute attack pattern Omega." "Captain," Chen interrupted, "I'm detecting unusual energy readings from the inevitable dominance. They're charging something massive in their primary weapons array." Zhang looked up from his console, alarm evident in his expression. "That's a Nova cannon. It's designed to destroy entire planetary defense systems, if they hit us with that." "They won't," Rice stated firmly, "because we're not going to be where they think we are." "Dr. Zhang, engage the Loraki phase shift." The Defiant briefly shimmered as the alien technology bent spacetime around the ship, creating a displacement effect that shifted their actual position several kilometers from where they appeared to be. Sotaxian watched with savage satisfaction as the human vessel approached. "Fire the Nova cannon," he ordered. "Let's end this game." The inevitable dominance's primary weapon discharge, a blinding beam of energy lancing across space toward where the Defiant appeared to be, and passing harmlessly through empty space as the real ship emerged behind the hegemony flagship. "Target their primary power conduits," Rise ordered. "Fire." 3 months after the Battle of Proxima Centauri, Captain Alina Reyes stood at the observation deck of Earth's first orbital diplomatic facility, watching as ships from 17 different species moved through the designated approach vectors. The distinctive angular design of the Loraki vessel caught her eye as it gracefully maneuvered into docking position. "Penny for your thoughts, Captain." Dr. Zhang appeared beside her, his normally disheveled appearance replaced by the formal uniform of Earth's newly established Interstellar Affairs Division. "Just reflecting on how much has changed," Rise replied, gesturing toward the assembled fleet. 3 months ago, we were one ship pretending to be many. Now look at us. Zhang nodded thoughtfully. So Taxian inadvertently gave us the greatest gift possible. He brought together species that might never have found common cause otherwise. The aftermath of the battle had unfolded with breathtaking speed. The Defiant's precision strike on the inevitable dominance had disabled its primary systems without destroying the vessel. As Taxian's flagship drifted powerless, the coalition forces systematically neutralized the remaining hegemony vessels, targeting propulsion and weapons systems rather than pursuing outright destruction. When the Hegemony High Council had received visual evidence of supposedly subjugated species fighting alongside the Phantom human fleet, and learned of Taxian's direct disobedience of their orders, they had immediately opened diplomatic channels. 3 weeks of intense negotiations followed, culminating in today's historic summit. Ambassador Trellin has arrived, Lieutenant Nakamura announced, approaching them with a datapad. The Loraki delegation is requesting your presence at the preliminary session, Captain. Reyes smiled, still not used to being addressed as Captain in diplomatic settings. Get used to it, came a familiar voice as Commander Patel joined them. Your little act of defiance 3 months ago turned you into a symbol. The captain who changed the galaxy is how the Navarin press is describing you. One ship didn't change the galaxy, Reyes corrected him. One ship just showed what was possible. It was everyone working together that made the difference. The observation deck doors slid open as Admiral Kellerman entered with President Alvarez. Their expressions were solemn yet satisfied. Captain Reyes, the president greeted her. The hegemony representatives have arrived. Their new prime counselor is surprisingly conciliatory. Fear has a way of making even the most arrogant reconsider their position, Kellerman remarked dryly. Losing half their battle fleet and facing a coalition of formerly subjugated species will do that. President Alvarez shook her head. We're not here to gloat, Admiral. We're here to build something better than what came before. She turned to Reyes. Are you ready? Many of the delegates have specifically requested your presence at the signing ceremony. Reyes straightened her uniform, as ready as I'll ever be. The main assembly hall of the diplomatic facility was filled to capacity with representatives from former hegemony worlds and independent systems drawn by the unprecedented developments. At the center, a circular table displayed the draft charter for what was being called the Galactic Cooperative, a new interstellar organization founded on principles of mutual defense, technological exchange, and respect for sovereignty. Ambassador Trellin's bioluminescence pulsed with bright patterns as Reyes entered. The architect of change arrives, the translator conveyed as the Loraki approached. How does it feel, Captain, to see what your single ship set in motion? Overwhelming, Reyes admitted. When I refused to surrender to that first hegemony vessel, I was just trying to buy Earth some time. Instead, you bought freedom for dozens of worlds, came the rumbling voice of General Kavoth as the Sardic representative joined them. The hegemony ruled through fear and isolation for centuries. They convinced each species that they alone were restricted, that others accepted their place. Your defiance showed us all a different path. As delegates took their seats, the newly appointed prime counselor of the hegemony stepped forward, a slender, amphibious being who had advocated for moderation long before the current crisis. We gather today to acknowledge mistakes of the past and to forge a more equitable future, the prime counselor began. The former hegemony worlds seek reconciliation and a new beginning as equal partners in this cooperative. President Alvarez responded with measured optimism, emphasizing humanity's commitment to partnership rather than dominance. As the formal speeches continued, Reyes found herself studying the faces and equivalent sensory organs of the assembled delegates. Species that had been enemies or strangers just months ago now engaged in animated discussions about joint research initiatives and cultural exchange programs. Marcus Williams slid into the seat beside her, still looking uncomfortable in his formal attire. Not bad for a bunch of misfits with one ship, huh, Captain? Reyes smiled. The Defiant was just the beginning. Look at what's happening now. The Navarin are sharing their sensor technology. The Loraki are helping us understand quantum physics in ways we never imagined. And Earth is contributing our adaptability and creative problem-solving. Speaking of the Defiant, Williams said, lowering his voice, "Have you seen the designs for her sister ships? The Resolute and the Concordia are nearly complete, and they're incorporating technologies from 5 different species. Earth's actual fleet," Rais mused, "rather than the phantom one we pretended to have." As the charter signing commenced, Rais watched representatives approach one by one, adding their signatures or equivalent marks to the historic document. When her turn came, she rose and walked confidently to the table. "Captain Alina Reyes," announced the protocol officer, commanding officer of the UES Defiant, representing Earth. As she signed the charter, Rais reflected on the journey that had brought them here. The hegemony had expected to encounter a fleet of warships and had prepared accordingly. Instead, they had faced something far more powerful, a single ship carrying ideas of freedom, cooperation, and the audacity to challenge an empire. In the end, it wasn't superior firepower or overwhelming numbers that had changed the course of galactic history. It was the courage to stand defiant when surrender seemed the only option, and the vision to build bridges where others saw only enemies. As Reyes returned to her seat, Ambassador Trellin leaned over, light patterns conveying what the translator interpreted as profound respect. The aliens expected a fleet, but one human ship changed everything. And the galaxy will never be the same.